Because like, right now,
We are live.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, October 12th. I'm gonna open the council meeting, stand for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? But I have one amendment put in. And amendment is 13.1 is old business for that Joe Maltese for that garage that you're talking about.
I move that we approve the agenda with the amendment.
I'll second.
Motion made, second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approve. Again. Ugh. Motion is approved. See what I mean? Approve the approve the minutes of the September 28th meeting.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes of the September 28th meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Approve the special meeting minutes of September 27th.
So moved. Second.
Motion is made and second to approve the minutes of the special meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Old business. Chris.
Hello, Chris, representing Minnesota Wisconsin Radio Group, and we did get a chance to talk with Verizon. We went over the details with them. They gave some frequencies that they thought were potentially some issues, but those won't be the frequencies that we'll be running on. Their issue was frequency 147.0 megahertz, and we won't be using that particular frequency. So outside of that, the only thing they requested from us was a contact phone number where they could reach somebody 24/7. And that's not a problem with us.
Is that you?
Well, myself and one other folks on the line. I'm already available 24/7, so. But at this point, there's been some light communication with your attorney, Mr. Voss, just to kind of go over a contract. He said that he has some potential versions of it that he's going to go through, I believe. I assume he's, Robert, can you hear us?
Bob, can you hear us?
You can?
You can? I can't.
Yeah, I can.
I can't hear.
I heard a little bit earlier, but he might have stepped away too.
Bob?
Well, we had sent a few messages back and forth, and he just talked about getting an agreement put together. He asked if there was any negotiations. I said, kind of indirect, not directly talk. I mentioned a few prices. One thing I also mentioned is that some cities operate for $1 a year, but nonetheless, he's going to put that together, and I assume get it back to you guys for approval would be my assumption.
Joe, why is it in the bottom right hand corner, or bottom left hand corner of our screen? Shows the mic in red. Is it supposed to be green?
That's what I thought.
We're muted at one. At least on Zoom.
I'll put the icon at the bottom there. And then minimize that. Bob, can you hear us?
No, it's just.
Hey, good news. I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
can hear you.
We were just talking, this is Chris with Minnesota Wisconsin Radio Group, and we were just talking about some of the communications that we had via email about some contracts, that you had some possible ideas on contracts, and that you were going to send some of that information over. That's kind of where we're at this point.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
Yeah, so I understand Chris is both our IT guy, and thanks for that, and also has this separate entity that'd like to have some space in the water tower. As described to me, the kind of use that Chris's organization would make is typical, is good for a community, right? It allows public safety communications between communities and is a positive thing. I guess the opportunity cost that the city council needs to consider is that you've got Verizon up there now, as I understand it, and water tower space is kind of the primo space in a community for wireless companies. And so is there some potential for other wireless companies to want to go up there? Because as I understand it, Chris's group wouldn't be prepared to pay much, which I understand why that would be the case, but they wouldn't be prepared to pay much in the way of rent, or maybe anything in the way of rent, because they do provide a kind of a community service type thing. So when you're giving up that space, that could be theoretically utilized by a provider that would pay you. Verizon is paying you, I think it's fair to say, tens of thousands of dollars a year to be up there, and so, you know, that's the opportunity cost that you're talking about. So appreciate the info from Chris, and what he's proposing makes sense, but ultimately council needs to sort of consider the value of that space and what terms you might consider with Chris's group, or whether you just want to leave that space open for a private wireless provider. And I'll stop there.
So I guess on that note, you just had a single antenna, correct? Is what it was? Two.
Yeah, they're fairly small. The one is about this in diameter, and it's about up to 8 feet. It just depends on the final one that's used, but
Okay.
it's so it's a small. It uses very little space in that sense.
Okay.
And I don't know how much you remember what we talked about before, as how much space is needed down on the bottom part where all the cables go to. But it's actually about this size here, maybe just a little bit shorter.
Okay.
And it would just plug into an outlet that's available.
So where are you gonna put that inside the building, inside the tower?
Yep, it's somewhere
Whereabouts?
wherever you guys would allow me to have it. Wherever would work best for you and Public Works. Or,
Could I jump in here for just a second here?
sure.
Because I got a guy that, from Carolina, he did the reconditioning. This is Michael here, and he maybe can help answer some of these questions too. Because it's, and I'm not familiar with what's up there, other than Verizon, correct?
Correct. So KLM has, and I was gonna talk about this during the report, but we have an antenna division. And typically, with ISG projects, we partner together with your city engineer. When there are antenna upgrades, it's really important when you're adding things to the tower to make sure to reach out to one of the services we offer as part of that agreement that you guys signed with us is antenna inspection services, because a lot of times, not saying you, Chris, but a lot of these private companies, what they'll do is they put the antennas a lot of times in places that aren't up to code, OSHA violations, as well as they drill into handrails and also remove potential damage coatings and don't repair them, so on and so forth, because at the end of the day, the tower's meant for water storage. It can be a great revenue source. And KLM's fees typically for that type of inspection work and making sure and managing that get passed through onto the providers. So it's important when negotiating contracts with your city attorney is maybe having KLM also review those and partner with your city attorney to make sure that the city doesn't pay for, one, the inspection fees, but two, they're protected if there's ever work to be done on a tank. The provider has to, pay for the temporary monopole to be put on, so that way the city's one, not liable for the monocle, two, the contractors that are hired don't have to work around. It's not a nightmare for INS group. I know enough about the antenna the antenna side of KLM to be dangerous. That's not my expertise, so I'd have to refer you to our manager, our telecom manager, Tad Oaks, which I can give, Jason, I don't know, Reese has his contact information as well. But that's just something I would consider before you ever sign anything. To make sure, one, you're already doing a great job having your attorney review the lease agreements, but also maybe see them over to us as well, just to make sure you're protected and all that money does get passed on to the antenna providers. KLM does charge a heck of a lot less for entities like Chris here because they're providing a service versus, Verizon and T-Mobile. So just food for thought, I want you guys to be aware of.
Absolutely, that's a lot of sense. Now, see, the part with Verizon too is any damage to the paint and anything in that antenna, they're responsible for.
Correct.
And that's in the agreement with them. And I would say that I'd urge the council to do the same with you.
Yeah, you mentioned the same thing I think the first time that I came up to the council. Yep, I don't think that's an issue.
No, I mean, that was one of the exceptions, or the proposals we had with Verizon on that.
Yeah.
Because that paint is quite expensive.
And then it also says on here that if we would have to do reconditioning, they would be responsible for the cost it takes to remove them, paint or rebuild whatever you have to up there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty simplified setup. The antenna is literally a stick and it mounts in two areas by clamps over an existing support that's up there. So it's pretty simple how it's connected in, and then of course cables come down through the existing cable path that's already, in most cases, is already there, just utilizing that.
So I didn't mean to interject, guys.
No.
No, that's very helpful.
Right.
And I'm glad you did, really.
So our contract discuss all this as far as, you working with them and getting it mounted properly and all that?
Bob?
Can you repeat the question? I sort of heard part of it, but not.
Will our contract with Chris then, have in there that, he will work with KLM as far as how and where the antenna is mounted?
Yeah, so I mean, normally what you do is you take your current lease that's been amended 2 or 3 times with Verizon and use that as the template for a new provider. There's no reason to throw that out and start with a totally different document. So normally that's how you do things. And I should say as an aside, so, I do city attorney work for a bunch of cities, and then my other thing is sort of this stuff, and this is the other thing that I do a lot of is telecom work. And so I know what I'm talking about in this area, unlike some of the areas we talk about bonds, et cetera. So I would start with the Verizon, and yes, what I heard from the KLM rep, that makes sense. I mean, obviously the city wants to make sure that this provider that Chris works with puts its facilities up there, if you want to move forward with them, puts them up there safely and in a way that doesn't interfere with the primary purpose, which is the water tower. I gotta say, having done 150 of these deals, that rarely happens, maybe almost never happens. So I don't undervalue what KLM does, but it would be unusual, very unusual for Chris's organization to do something that really damages or interferes with the use of your water tower. But it makes some sense to make sure that it's done right. Am I answering your question, council member? I think the place to start is the Verizon lease, and yes, it would cover covering the city's cost to KLM through whatever Chris's organization pays, either to the city or to KLM to get that work done.
Yeah, that answered my question. The other thing I thought I'd mention is, from what I understand, our contract with Verizon is exclusive, and there's not another wireless company that can go up there as long as we're with Verizon. Isn't that right?
Well, that was.
Yeah, no, it's not right. It's true that it is true that Verizon, the space that Verizon has, which is identified in an exhibit, it identifies specifies particular heights on the water tower and particular sort of array locations on the water tower that are exclusively Verizon's to use. But the Verizon lease doesn't say no other wireless company can go anywhere in the water tower. It just says no other provider can go up there and interfere with their signals or interfere with their physical space on the tower. So you can rent out other parts of the water tower to other providers,
But
like Chris's group.
what we had before, Bob, is we didn't want a bunch of different outfits on that tower. So we
Yeah.
said we were gonna do the one, and then Verizon did it, and we negotiated price with them,
Yeah,
with the cost of living in there every year with that.
yeah,
So, I mean, that was for, because the other part of that is the buildings down below. We didn't want that park full of buildings. So that's why, when the tower was built, we decided one, cell company, and that was it. Because we did have an issue with Verizon on the last contract agreement. They said they weren't gonna pay anymore, and we said, well, then you can get off it, because we got another company that wanted to get on it. And they turned around and signed the agreement the next day. So,
well, so maybe we're talking past each other here, Mayor and council member that asked a question. If the Verizon lease was exclusive, if it was truly only them up there, then we couldn't be talking to Chris at all and his company.
yeah, I agree with
There would
you.
be no ability to lease space in the tower, but that isn't the case. I mean, I got from Jill the original lease with Midwest Wireless, which through a couple of amendments has now been assigned to Verizon. It's not, they're not the only ones that can be on that water tower. We can't interfere with them. We have to give them space, and we can't interfere with their signals, but the city can let somebody else go up there and get, have a lease agreement with another provider.
So basically, we have a kind of a gentleman's agreement with Verizon.
Well, it's not even with Verizon, it was this council decision with this, as our decision. I mean, and that was a different council, so this council can do what they want. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
The past council, that's what, when the tower was made, that's the decision that was done at that time. That was in 2010. Actually, it was before that, actually. It was when they're on the old tower yet, too.
Okay.
So, I mean, so it's up to you. I mean, it's your guys' decision right now, what you wanna do.
With Chris and your yeah.
Well, as long as we're protected on everything for as far as the maintenance and everything like that, I mean, you're not taking a ton of space up there either, if it's just a couple sticks up it.
Yeah.
As long as the clamps, all that don't create rust running down the tank, that should be fine, I
Yeah.
think.
Community service, good thing to do.
Yep, absolutely.
And of course, the city would be as, I'm not sure the actual term, but like an additional insured on the insurance policy. So it'd be, I think, $1 million or $2 million policy, if we were allowed to be up there, that would be, you guys would be, an additional listing on that. I'm not sure the legal term, but.
Yeah, you have that right, Chris. That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Chris and his company and organization to go ahead with putting some going on the tower.
Second.
Motion,
Mayor?
yes.
Yeah, so friendly amendment, although I don't get to make friendly amendments, I'll suggest one. I think what you're directing is that staff, meaning Joe and I, present to Chris and his group a lease that makes sense, and then have them look at it. I'm sure they'll have some feedback. That'll ultimately be worked out, and then I think that should be in front of you before you actually approve it. So, in other words, I think it's good to direct staff to proceed, and we can understand the motion to mean that. But as far as actually approving the lease, we don't have one yet, so I think that has to come back to you.
And that's what I was gonna bring up, that this, the motion is to let you guys figure out a contract before it comes back to the council.
Right.
if you wanna amend it that way.
So I amended the, motion to proceed with negotiations with Chris's organization, contract for going on the tower.
Second it, please. Motion is made and second to give Bob and Chris go ahead to negotiate a contract before it comes back to the council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you very much, council.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Now we'll go into the other building permits of Terry Ryan.
Good evening, everybody. So from the last council meeting, my husband and I were asked to go back and talk with our neighbors to see how they felt about us granting a variance so that we can build a covered porch on our house. And so we went and met with our two new neighbors, and neither one had any objections to us asking for the 4-foot variance to build a covered porch.
Appreciate you providing.
Yeah.
These reasons or these. Okay, it's great.
That was the only thing we had to work on from
That
last
was the
time.
only thing that
Yep,
you asked
right.
us to do,
Yep.
yeah.
And that's,
Yep.
and I was fair with that. If no, there's no conflict with any of the neighbors or anything else, I guess I'll make a motion that we can go with that.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second to approve the variance and just the variance, or you wanna go with the building permit?
Oh, yeah, well, if we do the variance, then we can do the building permit, right?
Yep.
Right, we can do them both.
And so they have the drawings. I don't know that they're official.
They're almost official.
Okay.
So,
But then we have to go out to some contractors, and Jill had said that we need to get a bunch more,
And then
so she gave me a
the
sheet.
county-
Yeah, so I gave them a building permit, and they're gonna go ahead and look at, getting their contractors
Right.
all lined up.
Yep.
So they came forward asking for this variance
Sure.
so that, to move forward with their actual plans of how they want their house. So, so they're kind of doing it a little bit, not as typical. So they're gonna now look for, since you approved that variance, then they're gonna look for the contractors. So then she has the building
Okay,
permit,
then
she's
she
gonna
can
get it
come
filled
back.
out, and then she will bring it back in. But again, this is as a reminder from last council, they're not actually building until spring. So, but they just purchased the lot for this year, so.
Okay, then it's motion made and second to approve the variance for the lot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried, and then you can go on.
Thank you very much.
Next step.
Thank you. Getting all that done.
Yeah.
Very good.
Josh Lexlow, fence setbacks and drawings. Is that in here too?
We're going back second.
Oh.
So, Public Works, Jason did go out there and checked with, their 5-foot setbacks, is what we were hung up on last council meeting, is to double check to make sure that they stayed off, and then they're a lot more than 5 feet off the property lines.
So the fence is okay.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to, approve the fence with the setback.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve Josh Lexlow's fence permit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Lodemeyer Henricks, 1-foot variance on a
Looks like they did everything here, right? Didn't they, we asked her.
Yep,
I
so
thought we
they,
needed some different
they went-
drawings.
they went to the, Joyce and Howard Hendricks went to their neighbors, and got signatures for
You
their
got them
variance.
from everybody, yeah, okay.
For their 1 foot variance, because they went from a deck to now a closed porch, so we needed to check their variances for, since they had that deck there, because it's a, different structure.
So we have all the, okays
And everybody around them, yes.
and, I make a motion that we approve the variance for the deck report.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve the variance for the Four Season porch, or wherever it is, for Howard and Joyce Henricks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we'll go into the new business for KLM. Michael?
All right, well, thank you so much for having me tonight. First and foremost, thank you for hiring us to be your water tower specialist with that agreement signed a couple months ago. We're very grateful for that. We have a great partnership with Reese and IMS Group. So, I mean, you can ask Reese, this is what we do. All we do is water towers and ground storage tanks, all water, really, pressure tanks, all water storage capacity type things we handle, and we are a strong partner of ISG. So tonight, Jason wanted me to get over the inspection report and walk through it. So I printed out copies for everybody. And first and foremost, I want to start by saying the tank overall is structurally sound. It's in awesome shape. You know, and that's a good thing, and it should be, because the tank was built in 2011. So the nice thing is on page 2, I always call this the information page. And I'm sorry, Bob, if you don't have a copy of the report, I apologize. But I call this the information page. So if you were to ever quit and just say I've had enough, the next person coming in, you know, wouldn't be walking in blind, right? They would know when the tank was last inspected. They would know the high water line it was at, the low water line, the overall height, the type of inspection that happened, the coating systems on the tower, when the tank was last coated, the type, the contractor who did it, the type of application the coatings were applied to, which is important because a lot of times we see throughout the 11 to 12 states we work in where sometimes a city new public works director or city water operator takes over and they're in a situation where they're kind of, you know, operating blind. They didn't know what they were getting into and the history of the tank. So that's really good to have. If we go to the next page, on page 3, and the whole point of this too is I want this to be interactive. So if you guys have questions, feel free to stop me. I'm happy to, you know, answer anything and talk about as long and as much as you want. So the nice thing about the date at which your tower was built, you know, there's no lead or chromium or hazardous paint on there that you really have to worry about. So that's a huge plus. So what that's going to do is going to save, you know, the community a ton of money when it comes to rehabbing the tank. You're still going to have to contain it to prevent overspray, airs, emissions, and that kind of thing going out into the air, into the public. But you're not going to have to spend as much to contain it. Lead-based paint removal and chromium content or high chromium content is expensive. Looking at the interior wet coatings in 3.2, overall, it's in great shape. There's a couple of minor pinhole corrosion areas above the high water line, but that's very normal for a tower that's, you know, 11 to 12 years old, coating-wise. On the interior wet, below the high water line there, when you get underneath the water, you're starting to see some coating areas, and it's nothing bad when it comes to the application of the coatings. It more has to do with ice damage, and I'll get to that later on when I look at pictures. And I printed out, blew up pictures, I guess, of the report that are kind of areas of concern that I would touch on. Overall, the interior dry is in awesome shape. There's some minor cracking going on, but that's normal for the age of the coatings on a new tower. So when KLM is involved in ISG, we work together on a project on a rehab. We're very confident we can get 25 to 30 years on reconditionings. New tanks are a little different where we get that 23 to 25. in industry average in general, new tanks are right around 11 to 12 years before you have to fully blast. The reason for that is tank builders, they're welders, and they're tank builders. They're not painting contractors. So what they do is they sub out the painting portion to a lower end contractor, and that's not necessarily always the best, thing for a new tank project. So that's why without coating inspection, newer tanks tend to coatings fail prematurely. In your case, you're going to hit that 20 to 21 years, which is awesome, and that's a testament to what ISG did when they wrote this spec initially. But on the interior dry portion, that area is the area that tends to, I would say, we start to see fail first because it's susceptible to sweating, condensation, that type of deal. On the exterior, overall, it's in fair to good condition. There's some top coat delamination, the UVs are hitting it, it's starting to fade. That's normal. There's a minor areas of rust underneath the bowl that we noticed after we, washed the tank that was just covered up by dirt. But again, nothing to be extremely concerned about, nothing structural. The coating replacement that you see, if you go to the next page, if you scroll down on page 4 here. So this coating system is what is now mandated starting in January 1, 2023 by the National Sanitary Foundation on the interior wet. You have to put this coating system in to get a permit from the state of Minnesota. So any work ever done on the interior wet portion of your tank or any potable water source, you have to have an engineering firm sign off on the permits. You got ISG here, you're going to be protected. But in order to get the permit passed or do work on an interior part of a water tower, water tank, potable water source, you have to have an engineer sign off on permits. And to get that permit, you're going to have to put in this new coating system starting at 2023. Now, that being said, you don't have to do anything for, potentially 8 to 10 years. So you don't have to, your coating on that's inside your tower is fine now. It's just when you do work in the future, you're going to have to use 100% high solids on the interior wet portion. The interior dry is the zinc and 2 coats of epoxy that we've used, that are currently on your tank, that we've used forever. And then on the exterior coating, it's zinc enriched primer, epoxy, urethane, and then we use a fluoropolymer, which is a hydrophon, which acts as that shield. Going on page 4, now this is where we get into the structural modifications and things that are required by OSHA or AWWA or Minnesota Department of Health, and then some things strongly suggested. The main one that I want you guys to look at is under 4.1, it's 4.1.4. It's putting a mixing system in. Jason, I'm gonna have you model for you, because you look so nice. So this is a mixing system. So a lot of ISG and KLM projects, we put in a mixing system in a tank. And mixing systems aren't mandated yet by the Minnesota Department of Health. So we're starting to see AWWA and Department of Health organizations strongly start to push. I talked to one of the Minnesota Department of Health reps up in northwestern Minnesota, and I'm like, when do you think mixing will get mandated? They go, well, it could be in 3 to 4 years that we could see, because age of water is starting to become a huge issue. But he goes, now basically I'm telling cities, you don't have to do it, but you kind of have to do it, and I'm not a huge fan of that because some cities might not need mixing systems. But in your tank, or when we go through the pictures, there is evidence of ice damage in there, and it might be a good thing to look into sooner rather than later, just to prevent other coating damage from happening and potentially speeding up the life cycle of the tank. Do you have a question, Mr. Mayor? Or you started going like this, so I started to.
Well, I thought we had a prevention in that tank for that.
Research pump.
You have a recirc pump, and I'll explain that. I took a picture of that to kind of show the difference between a mixing system and a recirc pump. I can go there now if you want, or
No,
I can
just keep going.
Okay.
That was just something I was thinking when you were saying it.
Yeah, so then other than that, there's a safety climb device. The old pipe style isn't OSHA compliant now. Do you have to replace that? No, you don't have to. We're putting a mixing system in EOTA. Brad Boyce down there just recently said, hey, do you want to just upgrade the safety climb while you're down there too? I said, sure, we can do that. That's not something you have to do now. It's just when you do a rehab in the future, when you go into permit submitting, that's one thing that we'll need to put is an up-to-date safety climb device on there. A couple other things like adding another manway style for confined space. Probably in 10 years when you would recondition this thing, there might be a second one you gotta add. You know, that law, the confined space laws are constantly changing, so nothing too concerned about right now. One thing you can do, Jason, is on the overflow pipe, to comply with Minnesota Department of Health, they now want a 24-inch mesh screen. You can go to your local hardware store and just get that and clamp it on there. It's pretty easy. But overall, the tank's in awesome shape. It's in awesome shape. If you go to page 6, now, when I met with you, Mr. Mayor, and Jason, and Reese knows this, Kalem's a non-commission based firm, so I never want to say, hey, you got to do something. I'm not a sales guy. That's not my approach. I really want to build relationships and trust. And if you keep scrolling down there, sorry, recommendations on what, like, for coating repairs and that kind of thing. Now, there's prices for if you wanted to do a spot repair those areas that are, you know, failing due to ice damage on the interior. You could do that. You don't have to. It's a 50-50 decision. It's like, what do you guys feel comfortable with? You know, if you don't do anything, the tank's probably going to last you right around, I'd say, 10 years before you have to repaint it again. If you do the spot repairs, you might gain an extra 5 to 6. But who knows to say other spots don't show up if you don't put the mixture in and, you know, ice forms. You know, for me, it's always like, I'm kind of weird about spot repairs. I'm like, I don't know, I'd rather personally, if I was on the council, maybe put money towards the rehab and like ice prevention than I would maybe doing the spot repairs now. But then a lot of cities go, hey, we got some COVID money. Let's, you know what I mean? We could put it towards to that. There's not a right or wrong answer. But I will say to fully recondition the tank, bring everything up to Minnesota Department of Health, OSHA, put the 4-coat system on the exterior, 3-coat on the interior dry, and the new NSF mandated coating system on the interior wet. You're anywhere between $375,000 to $415,000 for that 25 to 30 year coating system. That's a lot of money. But when you look at what a new tank costs today, a little 50,000 is like almost 1.4 million. It's insane. They've just gone up in price. When I came into this business over 6 years ago, it was like $480 for a little 50,000 gallon tank. You would be closer to almost 2 million. And we're looking at bid tabs. You know, our engineering team is every day. We're doing over 350 some evaluations a year. We're doing about 100 reconditioning projects. I mean, ISG can contest. We know our stuff when it comes to water tanks. But yeah, that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the report. But we can go to the pictures if you want, unless you guys have questions about kind of what I just said quick. Yeah.
Hot repair, would that be done this year, next year, what?
If you came to me and said I want to do it this year, I'm going to say we're not your guys. And I think ISG would say the same thing, just because there's a tremendous amount of risk. Because when you apply, like, anyone could go on Google and look at the product data sheets from Tunemic, Sherwin-Williams, or Carboline. Coatings perform well when they're applied at a certain temperature. Right now, contractors are just trying to get the work done right now, you know, for this year. There's a point in time where we could paint and it won't adhere to the substrate. Plus the tower for the spot repairs would be out of service for 2 weeks. And I know he would not like that this time of year.
But next year might be something you consider.
Yeah, if you felt comfortable with. Yeah, but it's one of those things like, you know, I was at a council meeting 3 weeks ago in Wisconsin, and someone asked me, what should we do? And I said, I don't know. I go, it's kind of one of those weird things. It's like 50-50 on that. You know, if you want to do it, it's kind of rolling the dice. I will say you have 3 years to make that decision, because once the coatings hit 15 years, you're kind of, you know, lighting money on fire, because at some point the coatings get too old and brittle and they can't adhere to the substrate. So I would make that decision if you're going to do it within 3 years, but
Would it be the situation now where it might not?
No, we wouldn't have put the recommendation for spot repairs if it
No, I mean, when you did it, where it wouldn't adhere to it.
No, because we wouldn't have made the condition for the spot repair. So if we do the spot repairs, they would still, as of right now, adhere to the substrate. If you waited another 3 years to make that decision, you could be playing with fire. What I'm saying is the answer is 50-50, and if I would do it, is do you want to pay 40 grand to get an extra 5 years of life expectancy on top of the 10 you're already getting? And pushing the big rehab costs down the, I mean, that's a budgeting thing that I can't answer because I don't look at your budgets, right? So I don't know, it's that's like a comfortability thing, I don't know. But great question. The mixer, I would say, so I put a proposal for the mixer price, and this is kind of why I'm saying if I was sitting in your shoes and if there was something I would do this year, I would put a mixer in before winter. On photo 2, you can start to see some scraping. That's, from ice. I blew up the bigger pictures and I can show you right here. But you can start to see some ice if you go on photo 12, photo 10, photo 9, you see some scraping, and photo 13. And if may I approach the council, I got pictures. This is the research line.
It's all the further it sticks out.
Yeah, that's the one.
Is it?
Here's the picture of ice. So, you could say, if you go, I don't want the mixer, that's totally fine too. I'm not saying the ice damage, I can't predict that we're gonna have a really cold winter, right? And ice is gonna go in the tank and it's gonna scrape the coatings even worse. I can't guarantee that. What I can say is if you get ice in the tank, ice causes damage to coatings. When I do a presentation at Minnesota Rural Water Schools, I'm doing one in Missouri, and the presentation that I'm doing in Missouri next week is called, or 2 weeks from now, it's called The Cost of Doing Nothing. And I always get the question, it doesn't matter to the audience, what's the biggest reason I see repairs? And I go, it's ice. Because ice causes a lot of damage, and I'm sure, Reese can contest to that. So I would definitely consider, if I was in your shoes, probably doing a mixer this year. Now, the picture of the recirc line, you said, Councilmember, that it only sticks up that much, and that's right, they don't stick up that much higher than that. So a recirc line, there's a lot of information out there with recirc lines. You absolutely need them. It's prominent, you have them. What the recirc line does, especially in Minnesota and northern Wisconsin, it heats up the inlet outlet pipe, right? That's what you're heating up, is that riser pipe, the fill pipe. It doesn't mix the tank. This mixer is gonna mix the tank top to bottom within a half a degree. There's a lot of mixers out there. We're not captive. KLM does not get kickbacks from these mixing. This is the one that I personally feel more comfortable with, and I'm sure Reese is familiar with it as well. It's the middle of the road price-wise. It's one of the few mixers that's a continuous mix, top to bottom, within a half degree. And what I mean by that is you don't turn the mixer off and on. We plug it, we play it, it goes. And it goes, and they're supposed to last between 7 to 8 years is the life expectancy of these mixers. And at the point when a mixing fails at the end, if the motor would burn out, it's about, right now in today's dollars, $2,500 for us to put a new motor, or for you to get a refurbished mixer with a brand new motor, essentially. Or you can just purchase a new mixer if you want to get another 5-year warranty, because every mixer does come with a 5-year warranty. Like I said, it's a middle of the road price rise. The main reason I like this mixer, besides it operates the best out of all the mixers we've seen, and we've done research, we've looked at Tide Flexes, we've installed Cascas, Packs, Gridbees. Those are the mixers that are approved per Minnesota Department of Health and NSF. There's some contraptions out there that aren't approved for to get the permits, because they bring in outside air and they don't want you to bring outside air. But these, besides working the best water quality wise, the reason I love them is their customer service is second to none. And for me, that's huge, especially because this product represents my company, and I don't want headaches. I don't want people calling me in the dead of winter saying, hey, my mixer burnt out. They work tremendously. I've had 6 mixers fail. Of those 6, 3 were operator error. They drained the tank. They turn off the mixer. They burnt out the motor. Exum still covered it. Should Exum have covered that? No. Can I guarantee anybody Exum's going to cover that again? No. But they did. And they had the mixer before, the shipping problems within a week. That's huge, for me. So that's why I like Exum, the brand. It's about $1 a day in electricity. They work well. And yeah, I think they would, help mitigate the ice. I can't guarantee you if we get negative 60 to 70 degrees that you're not going to have ice in the tank. I had one city administrator want me to put in writing if it was negative 200. I said, I'm not going to do that. There's going to be ice in the tank if it's that cold. But what you won't get is the donut, and on that picture you can kind of see where it's frozen over. So that's a picture on the one that she has right here. Yeah, so what happens when a tank freezes, we got to drill a hole in the ice essentially. Put like a hot water gun down there, saw it all the way down through the fill pipe. Extremely dangerous. We don't do that anymore because it's extremely dangerous. If that happens to you guys, we'll get you in touch with the person to do it. But what happens is when it caps, that's the shifting that's happening that scrapes the coatings. What you want is like a donut hole, so warm water can get on there and you can fill it, flush it, keep the water ice from melting. So what the mixer is going to do is going to prevent that. In the proposal, I have in there, if KLM would do the electrical. I always tell cities, you can do the electrical yourself. It's cheaper, fully transparent. We get a tower electrician that we have 2 of them. I reach out to both of them. I find out who's the cheapest quote. I take it, I mark it up $100 because our attorneys say we have to. If we're putting it under our name for insurance purposes, we gotta have, something on there. So I mark it up $100, full transparency. But I will say there are electricians in the area who do climb tanks that you guys could probably source it to be cheaper. It's really simple. The mayor of Belgrade happened to be an electrician. He climbed up. We installed the mixer. He climbed up, did the electrical. He goes, any electrician with their salt can do this. As far as the price this year, obviously this probably wasn't on your council's radar. If you wanted to make a motion to approve it, we can install it this year, bill it next year. We could do 2 payments, one this year, one next year, 0 interest. Whatever you guys feel comfortable with if you want to move forward. Do you have to do something? No. I'm just saying if it were me, seeing the evidence, I would talk it over with Reese. I would obviously, what Jason wants to do. But yeah, there's no, like I said, you don't have to do anything. Today was just really about doing the report, walking through it, answering any questions, thanking you guys for your business, and hopefully you continue to work with us in the future. I know you were happy, Jason. You were happy with our group. Yeah, I guess questions, comments, concerns, curses, guys, about the report and everything we talked about.
Can I ask you one question?
Absolutely. You can ask me as many as you want.
No, I'm going back when that tower was built. And I think I'm about the only one that was been here. I thought they were telling us in the winter time to stop this ice damage is to keep the tank less so it has to keep filling and recirculating.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That is.
Yeah, and that's one way you can totally do that. True. It's not going to guarantee it. Obviously, the mixing system's going to work better. So if Jason were to go to the winterization schools with Minnesota Rural Water, they're going to tell you you kind of need to do all the above, right? You got to have a recirc line, you got to drop the levels low, you got to constantly overflow your tank, flush it, overflow your tank, flush it, and put a mixing system. Those are, they'll tell you to do it all. You're 100% right though on dropping your levels, so you're getting more bounce, more turnover. That's what you want.
I mean, I don't have an issue with that. If
No,
that's
no.
gonna say the tower, I would suggest the cost to do it. I would just wonder because of that.
Yeah, that does help, and you're.
Well, that's, you just have to keep everything moving, it isn't gonna.
You gotta keep everything moving. I mean, I had a city in Wisconsin recently, they wanted to put a mixing system in, and I told them no, and they go, why? I go, because you get 2% turnover. I go, mixing system, you're gonna still freeze. I mean, you gotta get at least 15%. And I was nervous they were like, well, send us a quote, we're gonna do it. I go, I really don't want you guys to do it. And I talked them out of it, because I'm just like, I don't want someone to install something for it not to work and then pay that money, right? So no matter what, you're gonna still need to do turnover, but what it will do is it will give you a peace of mind. And the
Well,
cool
it
thing
also, if you refurbish a tank, I mean, you're putting a lot of money into that paint job. You know, that's why if you could keep it from even icing up at all.
yeah, and I have a horror story here. We did a reconditioning on the tank in 2019 for a town, I can't say the name, but it's southeastern Minnesota. And we put mixers in, I mean, you know this, all the specs and pretty much new tanks, mixing systems get put in there. And for some reason, the city chose not to put the mixing system in. And it would have been pennies on the dollar for the reconditioning. They go, well, we didn't want to put it in there. Well, they said their tank froze up, the 2020 winter. We just had reconditioned this tank, froze up, and we had to dethaw it. We ended up putting a mixer in the spring, but we got to the warranty inspection, and they're like, oh, good thing we got the warranty. Well, they had ice damage. I go, well, the warranty, the contractor, is not going to go up for free, and that's not going to cover the warranty, the ice damage isn't, right? So they had to, you know, power tool clean, kind of, you know, get down to bare metal, and then put the, you know, 3-coat system back on the interior wet. It costed them like 60 to 70 grand. So it's like one of those things. It's like, you know, like you said, to echo your point, you're spending a lot of money on a reconditioning project in the future, and you've already spent a lot of money. Why not prolong it and stretch that dollar as far as possible?
That's what I was thinking, because I know we went through building that, you know, and I see these pictures here, well, it makes me sick even looking at these. I know it's a fact of life.
Yeah.
So,
And
but anything that serves the council, anything that prolong it to save, because in the long run, it's gonna save you money.
It is. It's going to save you money. I will say, and it's probably going to be mandated. And as soon as these things get mandated, like everything else, price is going to go up. I can't tell you when that's going to happen. I can just tell you what we've kind of heard down the pipeline. Like I said, 3 to 4 years, maybe longer. But I will say, when you guys built this tank, mixing systems really weren't a thing. So I mean, it's not like, oh shoot, we should have put this in. We're kicking ourselves. They weren't really a thing back in 2011. It's really started, like lead paint's a huge, like, you know, hot word right now. PFAS, age of water's becoming that. It's just a thing that are up on people's minds. So it's not, you guys did nothing wrong, or no one did anything wrong when you built your tank. It just, this wasn't available. It wasn't a normal thing to do. And this one's, you'll love this. You don't have to take the tank out of service to put this thing in. You can just drop it in. No phone calls. I will say it does make a little humming noise, but the only way you're going to hear it is if you put your ear up to the tank. So sometimes cities will get calls that say people can hear it, 3 houses they can't.
I don't know, wake me up at night, Jason.
You're pretty cool.
you won't be able to. You won't be able to hear it, man. Unless you put your ear up to it, because the thing does rattle. But yeah, and it's a good time to do it too, because your tank just got cleaned out.
I didn't see the cost of it. What is the cost?
Oh,
of
it's
it?
on a proposal.
It was on
Yeah.
this one right here.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So there's an option for us to do electrical, like I said. If you you have local people do electrical, if you do that, you're gonna save yourself, cause you're gonna save yourself at least, I think it's like $3,500 for $4,000. I don't have the proposal off the top of my head,
Like
sorry.
$4,000 with all electrical.
Yeah, so you can save yourself the money if you got someone local who's willing to climb. That's what I would do, because I can just send you guys the installation thing. And if you want to, like I said, I have 2 parts on there, but I talked to the owner of our company on the way down here. If you want to pay it all next year, you can totally do that too. I'll just make a signature note or amend it however you want, or whatever your attorney wants to do on that. And the reason for that is we just think if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it in before winter to prevent, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what it's for mostly anyway.
Yeah. Well, oh, another awesome thing, so the city of Fargo, we started selling these in 2016. The city of Fargo bought one from us. The next year, they call back and they go, we want 9 more. And my boss is like, 9 more? What do you see? He goes, not to mention, we didn't have to worry about ice. But we saved so much money on chlorine because our chlorine residuals went up because it's constant. So they saved a ton of money on chlorine. So that's another added benefit I forgot to mention. Because on the back side of this, you want to avoid that. Your water tower is like a lake. Which the beautiful part is you don't have that now, so which is good. But you will save money on potentially chlorine. You guys, Jason, do you have any questions, man? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, my thoughts are, it's going to save us trouble in the winter, and on coatings, I think it's something that they need to consider put in.
You said anything?
I do like, I think it would be good for the chlorine too. I think it would bring the levels up. But I do know we circulate enough water in and out of it that it's not really an issue,
Yeah.
the chlorine, so. I guess
So
it's,
then, if there's enough water being circulated, then why would there be an ice issue?
because you still are gonna get it along the walls, cause it's gonna.
Ice still builds up on the
Right.
outside, no matter how much.
So it's not gonna
Unless you
replace
can
this.
do an 80% turnover in a day or something astronomical like that, which is rare.
Yeah.
Is this the one?
You
So it
know.
wouldn't get like this.
Well,
No, that's taken from a
No.
town of 50 people up in northern Minnesota. That's,
Right.
that freezes up every year that we try to, it can't get their council to buy a mixer. I said, we'll do a 4-part payment plan, they still won't do it. I'm like, guys, you spend $50,000 every year to de-ice the thing.
You're still gonna get ice buildup
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
We do use enough water that it fills enough, it's probably never gonna freeze. But, I mean, I shouldn't say never, knock on wood. We haven't had a super cold winter now that I said that. It's 60 below for 2 months.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I know. But you're still gonna get ice built up all the way around that tower, and that's what has caused the paint.
Because when you're moving the levels up and down, you
The ice
naturally
trays on the
scrape it
wall.
on the walls and on the
Well,
driveway.
isn't it true, because I think when that tower was built, they were warning us on the north and the west side, because of the prevailing winds and that's gonna fill up with ice first, and that's gonna offset that tower also.
Yeah, the northwest, the northern.
I think Devin told me, I can't remember for sure, I think he said that's where it was, on the northwest side of the tower.
Okay, and
On the pictures, you can't tell.
You can't
I would
tell.
have to ask him again.
No, but that's what they were
But
telling
I will
us, I
say
remember
tanks that
that.
are more exposed to the wind obviously get colder. Just like a tank that's painted, a dark, navy blue or black heats up hotter in the summer, right? It's the same type of thing.
So I guess my answer is, it's up to you guys. I'm for putting this in, because it's probably gonna guarantee we're not gonna have freeze
So
up.
can't guarantee.
Not guaranteed, sorry.
I'm just gonna say that right now, it could get.
Be less likely that we're gonna have freeze up, yes.
Less damage.
Less damage to the inside.
Yeah.
However, you guys have to make the ultimate decision on if you wanna move forward with it now, or if you wanna think about it and come back to it in a week or two. or a month.
Sounds to me like it's gonna save us money. I'm pretty sure we could probably get a local electrician to, do the wiring.
Well, look at it, 'cause right here, it's basically a $4,000 difference.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
And I think we could get somebody to,
I think it's something we could do this year, myself, but, whatever the rest of the council's thinking, Mike, what's your opinion on it too?
Do you have any questions on it, or what do you think?
No, I mean, this is the reason
mean, cause it's gonna improve the life of the paint.
Yeah, well, it's gonna.
I'd rather
I mean,
see this than spot coat.
it's gonna
I'd
prevent
rather
it
go that
speeding.
one
Oh, yeah, I have
I don't
no
wanna do
faith
that
in
at all.
spot coat.
I don't wanna do spot
It's
coat.
money in the wind, I always think.
I totally agree with you. I'd rather see this than that. I'd rather budget towards reconditioning it in 15 or 10 years, put the money into this, to try to make it last. And maybe save us some money on flooring, like you were saying, or wear and tear on the paint.
Yeah, and whenever there's like major like coating work needed, what you guys would do is reach out to Reese. Reese would put together a spec, and we would be a part of it. He'd look at rely on Kalen for the inspection and help write the tech specs of it. But yeah, but that would be for the big things. But like I said, I agree with you, man. Spot there. But that's not a Kalen. Like that's not everyone's opinion of Kalen. I just tell people what I think. Believe honesty is the best policy. If you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. So
How much of the tank was used
Yeah.
for, how much, where was the ring at? For, I mean, where you could see, your water
yeah,
level?
well,
I mean, were we
so if
using?
you look at the page 2, and you go to your overall height of your tank's 114 feet. The
Correct,
high water line was at 100.
100, yeah,
So that's 3/4 the way up the bowl.
correct, but you still,
And the low water line is
depending on your
at
settings of where you put your well pump,
yeah,
I mean, like, I'm a water operator by trade,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I run 2 towers as it is. So, like, we're, I'm trying to think, inside our bowl, we're running 26 feet,
yeah,
down to 24, and then we cycle over.
yeah.
So, like, how are we running our tank here? Like, what is that set to? Because I don't think, Jason, do you even,
I don't even know.
we just run off pressure, and that's what you understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have to look at it. I would have to know where your pressure's at when you're doing it and doing it
Okay.
that way. So I wouldn't be able to. But I have a sheet actually that I can send you. That's like a good like our engineers drew like a diagram of the tank and then we have a high water, low water line with pressure. Where you guys can easily fill that out so you can kind of track it. And that's something.
Because that's
Reese
what
can
send
help
that
you.
to me.
Well, that's something Reese can definitely help you with too.
Right.
Reese can make sure that you guys are bouncing enough and being on the right line. But as long as you're getting 15% turnover, I mean, the more turnover you get, the better,
Better,
with
yeah.
these mixers for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, on average, we're pumping, the wells are filling around 100,000 to 150 a day. That's been since I've worked here since March.
Yeah. Just wonder what it is in winter, because of course
Yeah.
you're gonna go down.
Obviously,
Right, it would go down.
because you're not watering, people aren't watering, and that's where we see.
It does considerably go down though, because I mean, sometimes on the weekends it never turns over at all. But depending on what's going on in town too.
Yeah, and that's why, and that's what would help.
The lowest I've seen it at 80, Michael.
And just so you know, the actual mixer isn't the size; it's a little bigger.
Yeah.
Just to
right.
give you a heads up on that. But yeah. Great questions. I appreciate all the questions. Some councils don't ask questions, and I just sit there and I'm like, either I was really boring.
No, there's just a lot of investment in that tank.
It is, yeah.
My question is, one, I guess if we choose to do nothing, in 5 years we come back on your service plan to check it out, and you notice more damage, there's a possibility then you would have to go in and do.
No, at that point, because it's past the question would be, are we speeding it up, the recon,
Right.
full recon from 10 years to 8?
Probably not.
Because if you came to me and I bet I asked you the same thing, can we spot repair this now? You'd say, no, we're not your guys. Because we don't want to have egg on our face and for you guys just to light money on fire.
Right.
So the only thing would be if you didn't do anything, it could speed up.
That's what my question, would it
The
speed it up
recondition.
to make it only 6 years?
It could, depending on how much ice you have and damage.
And that depends on.
The way you just jinxed the city, I
Wow.
mean, I'm just saying. Who
My
knows?
first year here, it'll snow every day.
I hope you're wrong, man. I hate winter.
I do too, so I hope we did.
So how does the council feel about it?
So what were you talking about when it was built? Was that the amount of water coming through that and that it was supposed to take care of some
Oh,
of this?
in the wintertime?
Pump.
The pump, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the recirculating pump was to
Recirculate.
try to stop that, but they were telling us that that wouldn't stop on the north and west side anyway
Okay,
because of the
okay, that's-
prevailing winds and that. So you're always gonna have that. You could stop it on the south, but not the north.
Oh, okay,
So there's a pump inside here. So this is at the ground floor.
okay,
And so what it does is it sucks out of here and injects back up here, and this top pipe runs through the standpipe, goes all the way to the top, and this is injecting here, correct?
Correct.
It's drawing from the bottom, injecting at the top, circulating the water over, trying to heat it is what it is, the standpipe.
Just keeping the standpipe from
Warm.
freezing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'll laugh at this, but some cities don't have restrict lines, and there's this town that's a client of ours down southwestern Minnesota. Apparently, I haven't seen this, but they stack hay bales up. To try to heat it.
That don't break my
Do what you gotta do. I don't know how true that is, that's what I was told, so take that at face value. Don't write that in the meeting. Mike,
I know what's the case, drive by.
I need you
So let's just keep going here.
Sorry.
So how do we feel about this, or what's your council's feelings?
I guess I'd like to table personally,
Okay,
to think on it.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
We
That's
just
what
got
I'm-
done spending a lot of money on the tank this year, you know, that's.
and maybe we can talk about it next time?
no,
Exactly.
that's fine. I don't have
Do
any.
some research and.
Well, I can look through this stuff a little more too, and, yeah, I mean,
And I think that's a great plan. I never think it's good to rush into a decision. I gave you, all of you should have my business card, so if you guys wanna call me individually, I'd be more than happy to. I would reach out to maybe Rural Water and ask them on their opinions, what they've seen. I will say the only way we wouldn't be, if you called us like in December and the tank already has ice in it, if there's not a breakthrough, we probably could get here and then drop it in the can. You know, that would be the one thing, like, I wouldn't wait till late December, right, to make the decision to do it.
We have at least a month and a half for it.
We got another meeting
Right.
in October yet. so.
Yeah, so that would be my only thing, like, not to try to put pressure on you guys, that's not what I'm trying to do, just saying, the only way we wouldn't be able to do it this year if you wanted it done is if it's already capped.
well, I'll just go buy a new snowmobile and it'll be 40 all winter.
Yeah, it's nice.
That'll solve everything.
Or you could just send him up there with like a ice auger and just.
Well, thank you for the update,
Well,
Mike.
thank you, I appreciate it, thank you guys for your business, we're very grateful, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for fighting the hold on that one. Find a snow.
No, Reese, you're up.
It'll be 40 all winter.
Yeah, feel free to call me.
Oh, very good.
Good evening. So a few updates. I know we were hoping for closing out that water main loop. Unfortunately, they did not drop off the correct documents, so we are still waiting on warranty bond. Broken record here, so we'll keep pestering them.
Well, wow, it's a lot of money too.
Yeah, so there's about $2,200 left on the
Alright.
change, so.
Nothing.
But it's not nothing. Sanitary district, kind of like we had talked last meeting, there was a legislative committee meeting on Monday where we kind of talked through. There is going to be a listening session with Congressman Finstead. That'll be tomorrow morning. I know a few of us are all going to that tomorrow morning. So we will have about a half-hour session with the congressman. So we're going to do kind of a walkthrough at 7:30, and then 8 o'clock there will be kind of a meet and greet with him and his staff, and then 8:30 we'll be talking through some of the district and hopefully garnering some more support, more from the federal level. I know it sounds like he had a USDA background and knows that funding program very well. So hopefully we can get some traction moving in that direction as well. It's not going to be anything immediate, but hopefully if we can kind of get a sense of the room, if he's, going for it, then.
If he has any interest at all, basically, yeah.
Yep. So then kind of the thought is to ask, with the federal side, we're still hoping for some 50% bond funding. The thought would be to hopefully get, 25% federal assistance with that, and then we're calling it local funds right now, which would be the 25%, but that could also be like our point source implementation grants or other grants that would be outside of a state bonding bill to help cover some of those local costs. So that's going to be some of the pitch tomorrow, but still, like I said, hopefully we can make some headway on that front too. Moving forward onto 4th Street, I do have, I know we had already talked previously about extending the water main down Broadway Street. So the overall cost on that ended up being $22,832. I do have a breakout on that in the packet here. So this was basically all unit price, and then there was some additional work because they had the gas line and a lot of utilities through there. It did take them a little bit of extra time. So that was that one extra day of effort for them on that. So still right in that price range we thought, and slightly less or lower than what the original number we looked at was. So
That street needed a lot of improvements from when they first did it, from what I've talked with the contractors. Jeez,
big time.
it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it
Oh, geez. They
And
were
so-
telling me some of the stuff, and it
Right.
wasn't done well when it was done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that.
So with that change order, we also did, because that was going to take them extra time, we did extend the contract another week for them to get to their completion date. So that completion date is now October 21st. So that is, I believe, next Friday. So that's coming up quick.
I see they put the stakes out for the curb up on 4th Street.
Mm-hmm.
They said they're gonna start that tomorrow.
That'll probably be Friday, Monday.
Well, cause they were talking about now would be Thursday and they can come down here if they had this done.
They're not gonna do it tomorrow. That I know
Yep.
for sure. That was the plan, but
Yep.
I talked with them at 3 when they were putting up the string line. It looks like they're not gonna come with the curb machine till they can come and do it all.
Well, that's what he wanted to do it all, yeah.
Probably Monday.
Yep.
Realistically.
So, yeah.
They'll have the street then here, all tore out,
Cut out, that's, they're working on it right now.
and we'll still be able to get in and out, will they have the street cut out, or?
You will, because hopefully they'll build you a ramp so you can get up into your driveway otherwise. But they're not cutting out more than what, 4 inches or something? I can't remember.
Like
what it was.
it'll probably be 12 inches.
Yeah, so there'll be a time you won't be able to get in.
Mm-hmm. So.
They'll let us know.
We can let you know.
Yeah, so I guess on the update, and maybe we can just come back through and talk pay application, change order, and get those motions approved. But update, so they've been more working on storm sewer this week. They do have all the storm sewer in, so utilities are done in, and now you should be able to see the road come together relatively quickly. So the plan for tomorrow was for them to go and subcut the road, so they'll dig down for the aggregate base. And get the actual pavement section and get that area prepped up. They were talking about, if it was good, even starting to lay down some fabric through there. So we're putting down fabric so that when you do a little bit thinner section, you don't lose some of the aggregate that pushes into the clay. And then you have a better base, and that doesn't get lost in there. So you'll see them roll out some fabric, and then they might even start bringing in their Class 5 aggregate base. So there should be a lot of work going on yet this week, so you'll see that start to take shape pretty quickly. So like Jason had mentioned, they are looking at getting their concrete subcontractor in, talking Friday, Monday timeline. So once they get their curb in, they're going to do it with the curb machine, and so there will be a whole bunch of forms sitting down the road for the most part, but it'll basically lay the curb for it. So there'll be a couple spots where they'll actually have to form up, but shouldn't be much more outside of some of the driveways. So once they get the curb poured, it'll probably sit for, with it getting colder, it's probably going to be 5, 6, 7 days is where the curb will actually have to sit before they can actually do anything with it, because we have to let it cure and get to at least like a 3,000 psi. So we always want to get it to 2/3, 3/4 of its final strength, and then they can actually start working around it, because if they do that too soon, then you're going to crack your curb all over the place. So there'll be a little bit of downtime, so, you know, if they can get moving this Friday, they're gonna be kind of pushing their substantial completion date. So that's something we can talk about. Obviously, they have been making progress, and they haven't like pulled off site. So I'm still a little bit more willing to work with them, because they do have liquid damages on this. So if they surpass their substantial completion date, then your contract will say that you can charge, I'd have to look at the number again, but it's probably $750 or $1,200 a day for damages. But again, you know, if they're continually making progress, you can waive that, and we do not have to enforce that. So that's something that we can discuss if and when that actually happens. So I do still think they're going to complete the project this year. I don't really have a hesitation that they're not going to get it paved. So just something to be aware of. And I guess going back, we do have, so the change order, we will need to make a motion to approve that. And then we will also have pay application number 2, and that does include the change order 1, so the water main work. So that has been completed, so I did include that on this one. So the amount due is that $181,733.49. That does still include our 5% retainage withheld. And then it also, like I said, includes the change order. So
So do you want a motion for both or one at a time?
you can do it in one motion if you'd like.
I just wanted to, we did pay for the first, pay application that they applied for or asked for, right, that we approved? We did pay for that, okay. And bond money, have we received that yet, or that's still?
No, that's not going through, and, well, it's there, that's why we have that resolution, so we're gonna use our funds until that's in place. That's not until,
Right,
like, we're 2 weeks off of that.
2 weeks out of that, yet, so.
And you do have 30 days before this actually becomes due, or they can charge interest. So
Okay.
from the application, you can take that 30-day timeline.
Yeah, well, it looks from what I see on our balance sheet here, that we do have the money available to do that, and we'll draw it down too bad, but just, you know, thinking a little bit about money.
And this is not including the modifications that somebody else was responsible for?
Yeah, we have not
Okay,
done anything on that.
okay. Well, we have to definitely keep that in mind. That's gonna be a considerable amount of money.
You're talking about the,
When we had to cut the concrete.
structures?
Yes.
So does this pay request include the structure that's sitting out there that's in limbo on who to use it? Is that already paid for?
So that one's actually, we're just still need to work that out with contractors.
I was
So
gonna say, that's not paid for, it's sitting there, they're
Yep,
in
it's
negotiation.
only installed quantities.
Yeah.
Only on stock quantities?
Yep.
And then, as long as we're bringing this up, we got that extra pipe there too. It's on that trailer.
The water main you're talking about?
No, the concrete storm
Oh,
pipes.
correct.
Is that stuff that's gonna go back? Or is that gonna be ours to keep?
I'll have to ask them. I would imagine they can return that.
Because I was told today, just this afternoon, they asked me what I wanted to do with it, because they want their trailer back, and they said it was ours. And I said that I was gonna bring it up tonight to see if we should store it somewhere, or send it back, so I was hoping.
I'm assuming you know this just as well as I do. You take it, gets left in the weeds for 10 years, then you throw it away.
It's not gonna be worth anything.
Yeah. So we have no want for it.
No, I don't, I was gonna ask you,
Mhm.
and it just didn't get brought up before the meeting, because we ran out of time.
Okay.
And you can take a look before you leave what's out there.
Okay. Yeah, we can take a peek and see what we got.
So,
So when will this be included, before everything is paid, then whatever happens with this stuff will be included and be taken off?
so can I get a motion for the pay application 2 and the update?
I'll make a motion.
And so we do need to approve the change order first. Sorry, just to.
Make a motion to approve the change order.
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the change order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now for the pay order to,
Make a motion to, pay the, change, or the pay application to.
I'll second that.
motion made and seconded to pay the pay application to. All in favor, say aye. That's a tongue twister. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
The sign approval for the city. There's supposed to be setbacks limits on this, and I don't know where it is.
What was your question?
The sign approval for business?
Okay,
You
so
skip-
we're still up on number
We're
10.
still on Public Works, you skipped me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went beyond. Public Works.
Okay, so I got a couple things here. I mean, Reese pretty much touched on everything I was gonna talk about with the street project. We did get the samples back. I don't know if the water main had passed, so that's on and ready out there. Next week, we're gonna plan on flush the hydrants. We did put notices out. If you guys happen to see it in the paper, it'll be Monday through Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll be done by then. So if you notice some low pressure or colored water, that's why. The other question I have is in our cold storage shed. I don't know if you noticed this in the report. We got 2 of the sewer routers that have been sitting there for a number of years not being used. I'm asking if we could sell one or both of them. If we do have backups or problems, we can get Empire, Vision Sewer, or even another community could come in and help us.
We've had some Broda come in and help before. We've had Mazeppa actually come in before.
I've never used them, nor I've seen them been used in years, so they just basically are taking up room. I was thinking we could take them to graves or public surplus. It'd be nice to have some extra room for storage and stuff down there if they're never going to be used again.
Well, that, if we do get rid of them, somebody else may use them.
Right.
You know, somebody may have a need for them.
And we could keep one, or
It's an actual router.
it's an actual router. It has an old Wisconsin gas motor thing. It's unique.
Used to sit on a 62 truck that they took the truck box off because it was so rusted and made a trailer out of it.
Yeah, and I have the parts in one of the old ones at my house, the engine and one of the transmissions. I have all that stuff at
Oh,
my
yeah.
house. Yeah.
I think these are both
Scrap one a
complete
while
because we
back.
looked at them
Yeah.
last week one day.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's up to you guys. We can do one, and I don't know what they're going to be worth. They're pretty much obsolete nowadays. And according to our insurance, I haven't checked on it, but what I heard from Rural Water, because he had saw them when he was here, we had to go in that shed to get some stuff. He couldn't believe we had them because they're not safe. You could easily get hurt
Well,
using
they
them.
snapped a couple of times.
Yep. So like I said, I did not check with our insurance on that, but I guarantee you they're going to be like, what?
And then there's no reason to keep them.
No.
Are we gonna get more for scrapping them than we would trying to?
We could take one and try to sell it, and if the other one we could scrap, I mean, we can cut it up. Take the one that works. It's up to you guys, whatever.
I would suggest getting rid of them, number one, because number two, one of my concerns was tonight was if we got a camera system for a certain pipe.
Well, the next part of what I was going to talk about is not in here because I was waiting for a quote back from Empire, because every year they have done 5,000 feet of cleaning and 1,500 feet of cameraing. I talked to Empire, that's who's done all of ours. They did some for us earlier this year when we had an issue with some roots up behind off a hilltop. They did about 600 feet. I got a quote. The League of Minnesota Cities says you should do a quarter of your town every year. We don't have a maintenance plan with Empire or anybody else right now. They're basically been doing 5,000 feet of cleaning every year. That's what they've been doing since 2013. I did get a quote for that this year. It's not super cheap. I didn't think it was too far out of line. It was $8,015. That would be with the 5,000 feet of camera or of cleaning and the 1,500 feet of cammering, and then I need to tell them which streets I want done. So I would probably do some of the old clay stuff for sure.
They should have, they've been doing it for, they should have a list on which ones they did.
I have all that.
Okay, yeah, because then we can go back to, on Second Avenue from 4th Street down from 4th Street down is one of them that gives us problems every year.
Right,
And they usually look at that one, so that's one of them.
right.
The other one was 6th Street from the 2nd Avenue, or 3rd to 4th. Wait, on 3rd Avenue, I meant, not 2nd. And that, but we put a liner in that, and I don't know if they ever cameraed that since the liner was put in it.
We'd have to go through the
Yeah.
PDFs we got, and they're all in my file cabinet. So I don't know if that's something you guys want to consider. They said they could still get it done yet this year because they're not that far from.
I don't wanna see a sewer backed up, because that's more costly, and we've had that happen.
Right. They also said they're busy, but they thought they could work us in because we've worked with them before. Oh, well, since 2013, they've done some for us every year. So I don't know if that's something you're interested in doing, or if we want to cut back and do a little less, we could.
And that's, you trying to do it this fall?
Try to get it done this fall yet. I just need to give them the go ahead and then determine which streets we want to do. Because what I'd like to do is come up with some sort of plan with them to do a quarter of the town each year and the problemed areas. And he said we could work on that over the winter to get something set up, or in the future. He just needs to know the total miles we have of sewer. And then it would be easier at that point to schedule in so much money a year for that instead of just doing the.
Yeah, because then we know what it's gonna be.
Exactly. We would know from year to year how much we're gonna do. And I like that idea. So if we choose to do some this year, we could either do 8,000, we could do 5,000, we could just do the problem area. It doesn't have to be all 5,000 feet.
And what was the price again to do the 5,000 feet of cleaning and the 1,500 feet camera?
It's $8,015 total for the cleaning. $4,240 just for the cleaning, and $3,010 for the cammering and the cleaning. That would be together. So I guess I have to figure this. He just got back to me today, so.
Yeah, it's gotta be real close.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it every year, and you don't wanna see a year we don't do it.
Well, right, you don't need sewers backed up. I remember hearing some horror stories about that from that was not good at all.
We could easily we could just televise the problem areas and then clean the rest, because a lot of it has been cameraed already. Not much of any part of the new part of town has been touched. Nothing up there. But for the most part, most of the manholes and anything I've checked up there looks good. It's this area that you have the
It's a
problem.
clay, that's all plastic.
That's all plastic.
This
yep.
is clay tile where the roots come into it. So.
That's the stuff we'd have to worry about. And I can have them talk to them tomorrow, and we could come up with a lesser number too. We wouldn't have to do as much.
You need to do it once this year, or just do the problem area?
So it's basically 80 cents. Here's what I'm looking at: 80 cents a foot for the cleaning and $2.15 for the $2.15 for the cleaning and the cammering. So if we did, it'd be $4,000 just for the 4,500 around that for the just the cleaning.
So if we just did the problem areas? And that would be the 4? You
Well,
think
that would be the 5,000 feet.
5, okay.
And then maybe if we did problems areas this year, we could look at then setting up the plan for everything else.
It's probably a good
Give you
idea.
some time to get that set up.
I think that's a. And then once I figure out what our problem areas are, I can get it. He's not going to be here in 2 weeks anyway. I can figure out what the cost would be. He said he pretty much can do it until it gets 20 below zero. So. I
So you
mean,
can't run back there.
until the hydrants or the water freezes into the vac. Yeah, until you can't run the vac truck. So we can figure out the problem areas, get a price for that, and just do the cleaning, and then next year try to come up with a plan to do a quarter of the town going forward.
We need a motion for that, or just?
Well, you need a motion to bring them in here, yes, because you're spending money.
Make a motion to have Empire come in and jet and camera the problem areas of town for the sewer.
Second.
Motion made and second, have the sewer partially cleaned and cambered. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
And then, we'll work on that.
We can work on that maintenance
Like
plan.
a quarter of the city or whatever at a time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Homework.
And then the other things I got here, what we've been working on is mostly just, we did do some more work on the snow equipment. We're gonna replace the broom for one of the brooms on the lawnmower that got bad, so working on that right now. Picking up the leaves, we did a bunch of them today. I also mulched a few in the park. Then the other question I got is, Goodhue County reached out to a lot of communities. I know I talked to Reese about this. They were wondering if we were interested in going in on their seal coating bids next year. We can fill out the form to say we're interested. It's a deposit of $400 to sign up. They would come in. We'd have to figure out which streets we want to seal coat. I did talk to them about crack sealing some stuff. They offer the service that their crews would come in and crack fill some of the streets that aren't getting seal coated, or crack fill them before we seal coat them. However, they did say, since we have experience in running the crack fill machine, we could probably do that ourselves, just rent it from them like we did the mastic thing. That's not a guarantee, but that would save us some money, because then we would actually do that ourselves. Instead of having the maintenance crew come in and do it, we would just have to purchase the materials either from them when they buy in bulk. We'd have to figure out what we needed, or we could go on our own. I know it's easy to get crack fill.
But you and I talked about that. And we went in with the county when they did their main order, it'd be that much cheaper.
Right, and that's what I was
We
getting
could
at.
store it here, would it be that much cheaper to purchase it?
Right. So if that's something you would like to do, I can reach out to the county. We need to reach out to them by the Friday to decide if we want to do it. If we decide to sign up and do nothing, it's just $400 that we lost out on.
I mean, there's plenty of roads that could use it.
We have tons. I have a list that we can do. I just need to know about how much we want to spend on the seal coat. The crack filling, depending on if we did it or the county, would be more than likely we would do it.
So do we need to know seal coating by Friday, or do we need to know both?
Just need to know.
Just need to know if we
Yes.
want. But do we need to know by Friday if we want to do both, or just one?
Just to sign up to see if we're interested in going in with the county and doing this.
Okay.
And then they said it would be around Thanksgiving before we'd have to worry about which roads we want done and how many feet.
Okay.
And as far as the crack fill stuff, I would have to work out with the maintenance supervisor if they're interested in doing it for us, or if we can run the machine. and that just depends on their workload, and I've, in the past, I know they have rented it out, so, just like we did with the mastic.
And we worked with Reese in the past on crack filling and sealing, and what do you think as far as us going to the county and, maybe better?
They said they've reached out to us other years and never got a response, so.
You're gonna spend so much, I mean, you don't have to worry about it. You can
Right.
Get that bulk order, it's gonna be cheaper.
Okay.
We'll just need to come up with what we need to do.
Good to get experts.
Yes.
So I got one, are you done?
That's it? You got any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question for you now that you might as well bring it up to the council. Did you ever get that other blade
Blade,
for the big truck? The plow?
we put the, what do you mean?
You said you had the other one?
Oh, we gotta put the cutting edge on.
No, but you said you had two, that you wanna know if you can get rid of one?
Oh, the snowplow, that's right, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. That one will fit on there, so I don't know if that's something,
I
we can
thought
keep
it
it as a
did.
spare, we did look at that, that's why I guess I didn't throw that in there about the rotter.
Well, that's all I
Right.
wanted to know, so the council know there is two.
There is two snow, oh, that's the other thing, good point, Kerry. In that cold storage, there's a lot of treasures in there. There's an extra plow also that has been welded up, it can't, you may
That was with
remember.
the yellow truck.
The yellow truck, whatever. It's for the pickup truck. There's an extra one down there, V-plow, Boss. It should work on the Chevy. We looked and measured it. It looks like it'll go on there. It hasn't been used in years, but it is a spare. Something we could sell and probably get money for, or we could keep it just in case we need it.
Is there hookups on the new pickup?
There is not. You'd have to buy a whole new.
Oh,
Yeah, Jason's right.
no, that's a nightmare.
That's a nightmare. It would go on the Chevy. It wouldn't be ideal because it's not in the best of shape.
Oh,
So if it is something you're interested in selling, would be useful for a homeowner that you could.
It's the right time of the year, so
Right.
people are looking.
I mean, we do have a nice Boss plow now that's been maintained fairly decent. So, I mean, and if we would have problems, we could either get parts or we'd have to.
it used to be a nightmare to try to get it to fit on the new truck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't. It's not going to fit on the Ford. No way.
No. Okay.
No. Even to fit on the Chevy, it would go on. It wouldn't be right.
Right.
Oh.
And we're not even entirely sure if you could fit it on there because it's parked. You'd have to dig it out. It's buried behind this pickup that's in there. That I don't know why that's in there, but
There's a pickup in
There's
what
a
else is
pickup.
in there? Good stuff.
Oh, the Dodge?
the Dodge, yeah.
The Dodge is the one we bought before the Chevy, actually.
No, there's a Dodge Ram, but I think it was impounded.
That light green one.
No, no,
No.
it's black.
Well, I don't even know about that one.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's been there a while.
It's been there a while. So we'd have to try to put it on, but if that's something you're interested, the hookups are here in the shed for that one, or in the shop. We could probably get rid of that too, because you're right, now's the time to sell it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sell it.
I would say, yeah, absolutely.
What about the thing with the county? Do we need that motion?
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
question.
we
You
need
want
we
motion it?
don't need a motion for the,
And then I'll sign us up tomorrow, and then we can work with you, and it's Corey Wursel from the county. That's who I'm dealing with. I can talk with him too and find out the timeline on when we need to know what we want to do.
I make a motion that we, work with the county on crack filling and seal coating and, pay the $400 to sign up.
I'll second that.
motion made second, go with the county for crack sealing and seal coating. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
All right, thank you.
Do we need a motion to sell the plow?
No, we haven't. I mean, that's, we can bring up right now if you want.
But do we need one?
Do you need a motion?
Do we need a motion to sell the plow?
Well, if we had a consensus to do it, it'd be fine too.
Oh, we got a consensus.
Be fine.
Okay, then you can sell it.
So we get rid of both them routers and,
Oh, man.
Make sure you get rid of that pickup too.
Yeah, one hour.
I don't know if that's Josh's new pickup, I think.
Uh,
Why it's in there. That's.
It could be an impound that just,
That's what I'm wondering if it is.
okay,
Skip one.
skipping the police department, cause I already talked to him on that today. There was nothing new. The only thing on the police department is he's got a second application come in, so
Whatever happened to the first one?
he's still there. He just
Okay.
hasn't interviewed anybody.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it's went anywhere yet or nothing.
No, it hasn't gone anywhere yet. We're gonna
Okay.
start. So that was that one, now the sign approval.
Is this for Good You Living? That's,
Is that what it is?
okay.
And where are they gonna put it?
Looks like they're on the side of that building.
Right on the side
On
of
the
the
side of
garage.
the garage? Garage,
Oh.
okay.
That
Okay.
isn't, that doesn't need approval. It was, I thought it was out by the road.
Yeah, on the garage.
On the garage, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we really don't have anything.
No,
There's, in the zoning, and, I mean, there's no things for size or.
no,
or
the only
anything,
thing
just so
is,
you're not blocking anything.
yeah, it would need a council approval for if they put it out by 9, where it would be blocking a view.
Yeah.
And that, but on there, no. Like I said, I didn't even know where it was until just now.
If it's gonna go on the garage, I make a motion that we approve the sign.
One second.
Motion made and second to approve the sign for Goodyear Living. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Snow removal quotes. Have you got them out yet?
So I have it slated to go into the,
Given to him tonight?
I already sent him the,
Oh, you're
and he's
on top of it all.
She's on.
he's gonna publish it for next week. So what it says here,
We don't need a motion to go for,
No. They,
just when we get.
I just used the one that I did,
we,
that you used
we
last year.
approve the quotes is what we do.
Okay. That's good.
Mayor's concerns, I've been working with Manor Avenue trying to figure something out.
Can we back up to 13.1?
Oh,
Wait a minute, yeah.
Joel Maltese house is down on Manor Avenue. I think we had a picture of that. We had last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about it.
Which one again, Karen?
This is the added one that I handed to you. when you
Yeah.
came
Yeah,
inside.
for Roberto?
Looks like this one.
All this stuff.
Yeah, okay. Did we have that last week?
No, I only talked to Carrie about it because I needed some more paperwork on it.
Yeah, okay.
They wanna put a garage next to the house, but the house is at 28 feet instead of 30 feet. And instead of going for a variance, I just told Jill, I said, tell them to back it up 2 feet. But they want, the lot is a split lot, right? I gotta remember all this stuff.
Yeah, he's got 2 separate lots, and so he's trying to build,
That's this picture.
I don't have it up here because it came in this afternoon.
It's right there.
So he has two lots, Joe Maltese and Garcia Hernandez is gotten approval from Joe Maltese. He's buying a contract for deed. So that's what I asked Carrie for. I said they're buying a contract for deed, so I don't want to take this paperwork in. I needed to know what the city needed for it. So that's what he was referring to. I brought it up to him prior to council. But anyway, so he did get the approval from Maltese that they can go ahead and put a garage there, build a garage there, because they are working off the deed. I guess if they fail on the deed, then Maltese would get the garage. So they filled out the building permit, and then I printed off the papers from DSI, and then I had Jason go measure based off of the fact that the last time we looked at the setbacks for properties, and I'm not sure where you measured from,
Well, I
but
measured from the curb
from the curb,
to the front door, or the edge of his house, 28 feet.
and he's an R1, so it should be 30 feet. But then you were saying,
All the houses are weird there.
Yeah.
Some are 25.
Oh, yeah. it's-
But
Because there's no room in the back either.
And what the deal on that was is them houses are there before we did the street.
That's what I was wondering, if the street has been widened.
It was after them houses in there. We redid that part of Manor Avenue. The city owned part of Manor Avenue.
Okay.
So we don't have to give them variance.
No. Not for that, that'd be grandfathered in. But the garage would need a variance.
Correct.
But if he moved it back 2 feet, then it wouldn't.
So if he moves it back, he's gonna be too close to, and I don't know.
Then he's gonna hit your rear setback, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying we don't have to give him a setback because you're literally between a rock in front of you and our place behind you.
Yeah, he is, because if you put the garage, I measured it, from 30 feet setback, that'd be 2 feet. So if the front of this house is right here, and you moved it back 2 feet, no matter what, the house is in violation of the ordinance in the back per code. If you put the garage in, and you measure 24 by 30 like you have, you're gonna be
Right on the property
too
line.
close on, you're not gonna be right on the property line, probably 8 feet away.
So
So
what,
either way, he has to have one.
So it makes sense to line it up at the front of the house.
I would line it up with the house where it's
Right,
gonna say, A, look down,
Yeah.
and B, it doesn't matter, either way, you gotta get a variance. You
And-
have to get a variance for the front or the back, no matter what.
Right.
and I'll add C, you've just made 3 motions on giving variances for other people, so we have to be careful on who we're gonna give variances to and who we're gonna watch some of them. So
Well, he's gotta get his neighbor's approval
Well-
before we could do anything.
that would be the next thing that I would go with, but.
What's all this on this page as far as?
So that was just the measurements for the house. They are,
The house.
And the lot.
their first language is Spanish, so I went ahead and printed off GSI to make sure that I had the numbers and measurements for that, so that you had as much information coming here.
I wonder if you could put like a bath and a shower in the garage or something, you know, looking at that.
No, so that's giving you the measurements of the property and the house.
Okay. Alright. Before we can act on this though, you need to get, the, approval of the neighbors.
Now, my question is, 'cause I don't know if you realize this, the trailer park is Manor Avenue, the trailer park owns that property, so even though you have houses there, they own the house, but they don't own the lots. So you're gonna have to get the approval from the owner of Countryside Manor, correct?
No, that's where,
That was gonna be.
Ask Bob.
Yeah, you just have
That's what we got you for, Bob.
He's probably sleeping.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Wide awake. Yeah, no, it's not, there's no like legally required answer to that. Your code, your ordinances and your code don't mandate, that notice. There's just a general, sort of, due process obligation for cities to seek input from affected neighbors. So, and I think it'd be fine to go, it'd be easy enough to go to both the trailer park or whatever it's called, owner, and also the nearest, couple of residents in that area, just to get their feedback. And maybe, given language issues, maybe the city can help with that a little bit, but, that's what makes sense to do.
So Bob, I have a question. I've talked with the people, I tried the neighbors today. Would it be possible that we could draw up a sheet of paper with what because you said we could help with the language issue? We could type something up stating that this is what they need to do to ask their neighbors so that it's easier for them? Or would that not be acceptable?
No, that's fine. We talked at our last meeting here about, we're gonna do some updating and pulling together the ordinances into your code book and kind of make everything a little bit more easy to understand. And, so we'll have to have a little bit clearer rules about how this is gonna work. It sounds like you get variance requests, with some regularity. So we'll have to have some rules about exactly who needs to be asked and who has the right to weigh in. It's not that clear right now. But regardless of all that background, the city helping write up what should be asked of the nearest trailer owners and the trailer park owner, I think that's fine. The city sure can help do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
I guess my only question on this whole thing is if you look at the map that was drawn up, it shows that we're gonna be putting it over the property line. Do we have any,
So they worked it out with the county, this is just a GSI map,
correct, yeah,
so, and that's, I don't know when GSI is gonna update or whatever, but they own both of them, so they got the approval from, you listening?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I've seen you talking to somebody else as I was speaking to your
Well,
question.
that's, to keep going here.
So yeah, it is on the property line, I guess, according to the diagram.
But as long as he owns both pieces, does that make a difference?
Yeah.
I guess I was curious, we have an ordinance on buildings across property lines.
The thing about it is, and this is, Bob, can you help me out here a minute?
Certainly can.
We've had other people where two neighbors bought a lot in between them and split it. That's basically what they're doing here. I know the townships can't split lots, but the city can, right?
True? Yep.
Got that right.
So, Mayor and Council, give me 30 seconds and cut me off after 30 seconds because this is going to get boring really quick. As long as a city, and not a township, a city has laws regarding subdivisions, and you have an ordinance regarding subdivisions. As long as you have that and you have told the county that, you told Goodhue County that you have laws governing subdivisions, the county is not supposed to record any deeds of part of an existing lot unless you approve it. In other words, the county can't accept a deed that acts to subdivide a piece of property because it only sells part of the piece of property. They can't accept that deed unless you've approved it. But you have to tell the county that you have subdivision regulations, and I think you have told them that. Here's where it gets complicated as to the last item you just were talking about. Some cities require that recombinations, putting together of two lots that are commonly owned into one new lot, that also requires city approval. And I don't know if you require that or not, but cities can require that a city approve the combination of two existing lots. And I will just go further than you've asked, but to the extent you have two lots with a lot line between them, until that lot is combined, those two lots are combined into one, you really shouldn't be building things on that lot line, right? The fact that one person owns two adjoining lots doesn't mean that that person gets to ignore the fact that they're two separate lots. So until somebody approves that, the county or the city, you really shouldn't be building structures over an existing lot line.
But that's what I was getting at. We have the power here to be able to split that lot to make it work.
True, that's my understanding is your subdivision regulations, your law on subdivisions allows you to do exactly that there.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was getting at, because he's buying the other lot.
Yeah,
Then,
and so, but I guess like that was my other thing too, is like, how you said, until it's combined, it's still two
Yeah,
separate lots.
right. But when he gets that purchased and then comes back with this, we can split that lot.
That's important to do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
So he gets all that information put together for us.
Yeah, we'll just,
So who needs to get what information?
So, I guess first is we need to get the lot conjoined. I mean, because right now, he's trying to build on the lot line.
I caught that cord.
good job.
I guess first he needs to get those two lots conjoined instead of being two lots to be one, so that he can put,
He's got to purchase it first.
yeah.
So he's under contract for deed with Maltese, so that's what this paper says right here.
Correct.
That he's given them permission to do that, okay?
But then he needs to get, permission from his neighbors as far as the variance.
And so I don't know,
Okay, so he needs to get permission for it, so I see that part. What else, I mean, you said there's a lot of work.
Well, I thought there was needed to purchase the lot yet, but if he's got the contract for deed, no, then it sounds like that's already worked out.
Yeah, but still someone, and I don't know if it's Joe Maltese that would have to combine the 2 lots to be one, so that this garage can be put up, or if it would be, the contract holders of the deeds, Roberto and, Hernandez party, that would need to do it. I don't know that. I'm not a real estate person.
Do you know that, Bob? Answer to that, Bob?
I only heard part of it.
So since this is a contract for deed, would it be the actual, I guess, deed holder at this point, which would be Joseph Maltese, or would it be the people who are trying to purchase the house that would need to get the lot combined from 2 lots to being 1?
Yeah, I mean, the technical answer is that the contract for deed, a contract for deed is a contract. It can have different terms and it can give different rights. So put all that aside, forget about that. The easy answer is that when there's a contract for deed and something's gonna happen with the property, both the vendor, what's called the vendor, or the seller on the contract for deed, and the buyer need to consent to whatever is gonna happen. The city shouldn't allow either the seller on the contract for deed alone or the buyer alone to do things to the property. You want both parties to that to be consenting to that.
Okay,
That makes sense.
so we need both sides, Maltese and Roberto and Hernandez.
Right. Thank you.
So we need to vote on tabling this,
I just think they have to go get, bring it to us
Okay.
first.
or?
All right.
Okay.
Now can I go on? I mean, I just, every time I'm skipping here and, ugh. Mayor's concerned, I'm going down, Jason and I for sure are going down tomorrow with Reese. And, somebody else here?
Yeah,
Okay.
Me too.
Oh, we only can have 2.
It's already been posted for
Okay.
an open meeting.
Then you can. But, yeah, to meet with the senator or a representative and also talk about finance, see if we can get that. See if we, in some way, get the $6 million to purchase the property. So, for the sewer district. I've been working with, Marty? I can't remember his name. Mike. With Manor Avenue down there, he wants to build it. He's working with you supposedly, Reese? Yeah,
Oh, Sean, I thought you were talking about sanitary, Mike.
no, that I
Okay,
knew.
so you turned to Mr.
Sean,
Manor Avenue.
yeah. For Manor Avenue, trying to figure that out. He wants to do something, and then the way he sounds, he wants to turn it to the city. So I told him the city won't do anything. I mean, he says more than welcome to do it and turn it over like Holmes's addition and all that. I mean, that's what it was done.
So he was requesting that we just do a milling overlay on the street, but
No,
it won't.
No, well, it never lasts. No.
because there's no base there.
Right, I mean, so.
What kind of shape is it in now? I mean,
It's way better.
exactly, but I mean, is it holding up at all or? is it-
well,
I
the
mean,
buildings
I don't-
helped out immensely.
Oh, absolutely, but yeah, I mean, if it's holding up,
It's gonna last
Oh,
at
yeah.
least 25 years, right?
by
So we have
far,
to do a whole lot.
they're never.
He wants to put like a mill and overlay on and turn it over to the city, so when it goes to heck in 2 years,
We
then
pay for
we
it,
have to
yeah.
build it. And I said, no.
It needs to be completely regraded.
And that's kind of what I told him too, but he does not wanna, kind of what he's looking for is some direction on how, if there's any thought to, okay, one, is it just gonna be, he needs to fund it right away to turn it over? I personally think it's probably going to turn into a whole reconstruct. He doesn't wanna do much with like soil borings or anything else.
Well, there's gotta be a reason it was in the shape it was in. I mean, it's definitely gotta, yeah.
Right, so one would be, one, does he need to fully fund it? Two, can we go to like special assessment to where he could then pay that off? period of time, or 3, you know, if that doesn't work financially for him, you know, he probably just keeps it as a private access, but he would need to maintain that.
I was
so-
gonna say, he also wants us to snowplow.
Right. And so
Yeah,
the other thing with the assessment is he would like to have everybody on that road assessed with it, and not just him. So it would only, they still own that whole private right-of-way parcel, but.
There's lots of private lots that are using it.
Are adjacent to it, so it's kind of a weird deal because.
It's a screwed up mess from when it started 30 years ago.
Right.
So he could just mill overlay it and then pay us to plow it or what? I mean, that's kind of the only option we have now, is you have to pay us to maintain the road for him.
Yeah, he really should be paying the city.
Right.
I mean, if you're doing the work for.
We don't plow now, I guess.
Oh, we don't?
No, you
I
don't.
thought we had.
No, you
that.
don't.
It's private.
On the other side of Manor Avenue, though, even if we had back to see where.
Yeah, right where the cutoff is, I know where the
Yeah.
line is.
So you have to come up with an agreement to actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even wanna go in there because you go there and then all of a sudden somebody else does it. Why aren't you plowing mine?
Mhm.
You know, so you're gonna have agreement with the whole town, or you just, that's a bad place to go.
Right.
I mean, the way it sits now, we leave him do it. I mean,
It's a simple-
maybe it's a way of forcing him over to build that street and turn it over. But I wouldn't wanna see it turned over until it was built properly.
That's kind of what we're pushing on. I just know he doesn't.
He doesn't wanna go that way.
There's sanitary sewer there, and that's underneath the trailers. It starts on the south side of the first trailer, and it runs directly under the center, all of them, till you get to the end of Manor Avenue on their side. Then it cuts through the trailer court down into our easement. So there is no sewer under that road, and there's no water, because that water runs 10 feet from the sanitary behind them trailers.
Everything's behind the trailer.
But the sanitary is actually underneath them. If you go back there, you can see where their manholes are, because we just flushed one out last, well, we do it like once a quarter, we have one that fills up back there.
I mean, the expense on the street isn't that like it is here.
No, I mean, so it's not gonna be a full width. I mean, I still think we, you know, I guess we can come out to the council too, if we wanted to have them put in curb on either side. Obviously, go a little bit longer western product, but I don't think on the west side.
The west side isn't, I mean, there's supposedly a drive over curb. All it was put in there is with sand and gravel came in and did it, they put that a little higher.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's not even a curb, because the first time a guy drove over it, flattened it right down to the road. I mean, so there's, yeah, there is no curb on that, so I mean, you could go that direction, but that'd be up to the future council.
So what's the least you can do that, that he'll pay for? I know that's the wrong way.
I think we kind of already did that. That's basically what we did that
I
first
mean,
job,
just
about the least we did.
minimum, to keep it drivable, to keep it, you know, so that it's
Just keep it
usable.
accessible, and we would just need to replace the street section. It's not gonna be, you know, the longest lasting thing, because we won't have curb on either side. But we could just do a straight, clean, glorified driveway style to keep it relatively thin, but, you know, it'd still be kind of like 24-foot wide in order to get two-way traffic.
I wanted to say, it currently is drivable. I mean, they filled in, you know, yeah, with all that cattle and everything. I guess anything from here on will almost be improvements to what we went ahead and did.
Well, just the condition and snow wouldn't be very easy to plow snow on it, though, is it? That's gonna be a mess, right?
So it's really kind of between the threshold of what the city would be comfortable with actually accepting as their own and maintaining in the future, so that's kind of where I keep going back. We want to get a solid product before we just start taking on another street project.
Yep. And we'll still work on it.
Right.
No matter what, anything we would decide tonight, that we'd have probably this year anyway.
Nope,
Pretty much.
I just, has been in contact with him, that's what he's come up with. It's always, what can the city do for me, you know?
Yeah.
So any council concerns?
I guess I'm
Okay,
going by the building this morning at 5:30 as I'm heading toward work. I saw our teammate coming into the building. I'm not supposed to do that, right?
Depends on what time you want her to be here.
Well, I thought we had said only when somebody was in the building, so I didn't, isn't that what we decided before?
should be.
Somebody has to be in the building, or,
There's too much here for,
well, that's why I bring it up, because that's what I thought we had said. Another thing, what were we gonna talk about Thanksgiving, Christmas, and, what meetings we're gonna, usually we don't have a
don't
second
have
meeting in November and December.
Oh, that's
too
right.
close to Thanksgiving and too close to Christmas.
Yeah. So is that something we need to talk about tonight, or the next meeting, or?
Well, the next meeting, we just have to bring it up and say we're gonna have one meeting. You can do it tonight too, if you want, I don't care.
No, I don't know either, I just thought I, you know, I hadn't
I
heard
just
this.
grabbed into the building last year.
So, that's what, and if everybody just wants to think about it for our next meeting, put it on the agenda,
Sounds like a good idea.
and then, last thing. Usually the council would get paid the first meeting in December, I think it was. So I don't know if you do that, Jill, or if that's something we would plan on doing again this year.
Where's the 40s? Yeah, she said something about always right around Christmas or whatever, so just before
It
Christmas.
usually was the first meeting in.
We don't have one meeting in
Oh,
December, so
so
it's
that used to
usually,
be that meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Just throw that out there.
Okay.
anybody else have anything? We'll open up public concerns. Pam, you got something you wanna say?
I just stepped in, I don't know if everyone knows me, I'm Pam Opender, I'm running for the Minnesota House, District 28, so it was Barbie Ely's seat, and she vacated it, in January, I decided to run. You've maybe seen my signs up. I was in a primary, so it seems like I've been running for a very long time. But anyways, I just wanted to say hi, we have 5 kids, just a little bit about me, we have 5 kids, they all went to Goodhue School. So we're pretty well known in the area here. Our youngest is Cade, he's a senior here at Goodhue. So, you know, we're gonna be empty nesters next year, so, you know, it seems like a good time to start a whole new career. But just a little bit about me, I have a Norwex business, I have a large sales business, and just want to take that business attitude to the government and really look at things like tax reform. The Minnesota government has just really gotten very big. I know there's needs that we have to take care of, but also when I'm out talking to people, whether I'm talking to farmers or I'm talking to nurses, there's so much government regulation, there's so much overreach that so many parts of our lives have been very complicated, and any way that we can take a more common sense business approach and slim down government so we're functioning better, and we're not a bigger government. That's basically how I would look at things, just from a very common sense business approach. So I'm available. Of course, Goodhue is an important part of this area, and if anyone wants to meet with me, that's kind of what I've been doing is talking to people, setting up appointments. So feel free to reach out to me.
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have? Peter?
I have a question. You may not know this, are you joining the other cities in the sanitation district, or maybe even Bob knows?
For the,
Yeah,
there's
is Pine
Wanamingo,
Island going, some roads
Pine
going?
Island's going, Zambrota's going, Wanamingo's going, and Goodhue's
You
going.
all have representatives, okay.
Yeah. No, and we're trying to get funding for 2 years on this now.
My question, has that ever been done anywhere else, or is this?
Yeah.
It's been done statewide, nationwide.
Yeah, I mean, Duluth has it, they do it quite often for water districts.
Okay,
In like southwestern Minnesota, has a good water district right around.
so there's a history of it working. Okay.
And we were told when we started this out, they kind of wanted us as a model for the rural areas to get, because the more you use one plant, then everybody dumping it out, it's good for cleaner water and everything, so. And we were on board, we thought we had it,
Sounded really good.
and then all of a sudden we didn't. It's not that we didn't have it, it just got tabled because they wouldn't pass the budget, so. So that's why we're trying to get somebody to help us yet, so. Otherwise, the whole thing, and you pull me if I'm wrong, this is like 82 million for everybody, and that's with the one plant and everybody pumping to it. Each town, it would cost us right around between 25 and 27 million to do it for ourselves. So you times that, this way we can try to get grant for 50% of it. It's still gonna cost us 8 million, basically.
But quite a savings.
Yes, I'm just trying, and that's what we're after. And then the other thing is we're trying for a federal grant with it too. So that's what tomorrow's about, so. There's been meetings about once a month. It didn't go much this summer, but the last 2-3 weeks it's been pretty heavy again, so. That's what we're after, so. Anybody else?
You know who's going?
From here?
Well, Dave, you got with us. Okay, well then I'll shut up and I'll bug you.
Anything else you want, Pete, or
No, that was it.
anybody else have anything? Terry?
You notice that on the road where the twin homes are being put, that the dumpster was placed directly across the sidewalk. And I've noticed that a lot of the kids, so it's blocking the sidewalk, now they're kind of piling their junk next to the dumpster. It's
For the new one?
Yeah, for the new twin house, so it's not very safe, and it's probably not very good for the sidewalk as well to have that big dumpster sitting on the sidewalk.
It's not supposed to be on the sidewalk, so.
Right. So, but it's
gotta be a better place than that to put it anyway.
It's getting pretty junky looking around there. I think it's Gibson's.
It's
Zemke's,
Yeah.
they have a Gibson, but it's
He bought theirs.
Oh, okay.
I think they're almost done. I was up there yesterday.
They're advertising it now, so.
Right. They only had this one left.
The other thing is the porta potty there, is that
That's Bigelow's.
Bigelow's. The handle is broken and it flaps in the wind and is constantly open, so there really needs to be one that's,
I'll just talk big a little bit,
Yeah.
Jason.
if they can get it, they're gonna leave it there, or if it's gonna be pulled out.
Well, they were gonna move it down for the next one, I know that, because they wanted to start that as soon as they could, so.
It's awful windy up
Do you want to bring up the treasure position?
Oh, yeah, I found out tonight, just so everybody's information, our treasurer is resigning after the first of the year, so. It's time, probably advertise out to look for one.
Is that something, do they have to be licensed for that?
Well, Beth is a CP.
Right, but I just didn't know if anybody else wanted to do it, they have to be licensed.
You gotta be bonded, I thought, don't they?
Bonded, no,
You should be bonded,
I would guess.
in case they steal any money on us. No, that's what it is,
Yep,
though.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Gotta be
How long
bonded.
was she?
17 years.
17.
You know,
It's a long time. Okay, yeah, anything else I forgot? Oh, you're my right arm right now, because. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
I went through them a little bit, I didn't get a chance to get through them today, but I went through them while we were sitting here, and to me, they look pretty ready, so.
Well, that next money we got coming in for that December, or is that
December.
January?
December.
December, yeah, so we'll be getting more money into, from LGA.
Okay, well, yeah, that, I just sent my property taxes, so.
Now we can double it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on mine alone.
No, just to let everybody know, in December, we'll be getting another check from the state, so.
And from the state for,
LGA, local government aid.
okay.
I just had a question about, the building permit on this page one of the receipts. Healy Comfort Systems,
Yeah.
building permit,
Yeah, what was that
We need a
about?
building permit if we do any HVAC work, or certain HVAC work. I'm assuming that's what it was.
That's correct.
what does that mean?
Furnace.
Furnace and air conditioner,
Oh,
same way if you're replacing your windows and a roof.
I see, okay.
So if nobody has questions on it, can I get a motion to approve it?
So,
Motion made and second to approve the bills, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried, I got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried.
Come on, I'll get him.